and it was in India somewhere, and there was even an accompanying story and letter that Billy had heard from earlier. He says, oh, I've heard something about that. And he turns to Semjase and says, I received a letter from a couple of women who say they came across an extraterrestrial woman digging something out of the sand in India and said her name was Semjase. And I thought, well, that couldn't be. And then Semjase confirmed, yep, that was me. I did have those experiences. That's one of the reasons we're here, is to return the time capsule. We could have done it in other ways, but we wanted to tie this in also with your reunion with Ascot. So they came to retrieve the capsule, and Billy's just so excited, And Ascot says, excuse me just a moment, and I'd like you to meet Nira. And Nira, and it's spelled N-E-R-A, she's a dark brunette-looking woman, very nice-looking woman, and I'd like you to meet Nira. And Semjase says, Ascot, is this your ship? And she says, no, this is not my ship. I'm acting here as the first commander. Excuse me, the captain of this ship is named Scholars. And unfortunately, you won't be able to meet him, though. He was off doing something else. But she introduced Billy and Semjase to Nira as her deputy, second in command here. And she says, Billy, if you'll speak with Nira just a few moments, and I need to go, she goes with Semjase to get the time projectile out of the beam ship. So Billy's left with Nira to talk. And he takes one look at Nira, and he immediately has these swelled up feelings in him again of, what a nice looking woman, how pretty she was. And Nira kind of giggles because she's feeling what Billy's thinking, and Billy, again, being an Earthman, forgets how telepathic they are, and he's a little embarrassed. But she calms him down and explains, well, it's very kind of you for an Earth person, that I've been on Earth many times, and I'm not used to Earthmen having those kinds of feelings of sincerity about women. A little slam towards us there. And Billy says, really, you've been on Earth? And she says, yes, several times with Ascot in the past, and sometime in the future we will probably return again. And he says, when is that? And he says, well, no time soon. It'll be long after you've passed away in your physical life. We may return again there in the future sometime. They also, like the Plejadians, enjoy a much longer lifespan than we do. Well, Nira, they have a little chat about life on Earth and some of her experiences, and she explains to Billy, because of his question about why always women, that she says, well, the Plejadians and their people had discovered a long time ago that on Earth it was much better to use women for contacts because we're much more open to it. That when they have a contact with a man, that the men always seem to feel a little threatened or whatever, and the contacts don't go as easily, that they have found that the Earth men get along much better with Earth women. And Billy comments, yeah, I know what you mean. I don't get along with other guys as well as I get along with other women. But I'm sure it has something to do there probably with the sexual attraction, too. Semjase and Ascot are back with the time projectile. Billy asks if he can take a picture. He wants to get a picture of all three of them. And they decide they'll consent to that because Ascot and Nira won't be on Earth anymore, and they don't mind. And they comment that, well, Semjase can join us in the picture, but this must be for only your own private use, and you can't pass it around because Semjase still has work to do on Earth and doesn't want her picture around, anybody to know what she looks like. So Billy agrees, and he takes the picture of all three of them. I have not seen that picture. Unfortunately, though, it probably is part of the collection that got lost. Billy shot several rolls of film on this trip and only got about one of them back. The rest are disappeared somewhere in the mail or probably in private collections and in government drawers and so forth. But anyway, he snaps the picture with Semjase, Ascot, and Nira, and then he also takes a couple extra pictures of just Ascot and Nira, which we do have. They're a little blurry, and they're slightly greenish-gray, like most all of his pictures inside of ships. And his camera is jammed just a little short of f/16, so his pictures never come out remarkably clear when he's close. So they're just a little bit off. So the reunion is kind of solidified there with Ascot, and it's time now for them to leave, and Semjase remarks that, well, we still have some other things to do, and it's time for them to say goodbye. They have some other experiences for Billy to enjoy before they take him back to Earth. So Semjase and Billy leave the ship of Ascot and head back towards the Great Spacer. On the way, Billy's asking about this concept of parallel worlds. And Semjase explains that, yes, there is a parallel universe. that all the planets, suns, and everything, all the physical matter of the universe actually has a parallel form. That each planet has an exact parallel of itself. That there is a parallel to the planet Earth, where you would see the same people, buildings, and cities, so forth. The only difference is there's a slight difference in time. And Billy comments, gee, I'd like to take a picture of that. She says, well, it really wouldn't reveal very much because it looks exactly the same as the present world really does. She says it would be okay, but you really couldn't expect to get very much. They get back over to the great spacer, and they park the ship again in pretty much the same place that they did before. And once again, they take the little floating craft, whatever you want to call it, this little floating platform, and they go back up to the top of the spacer where Ptah is. Ptah immediately senses how excited Billy is from all these experiences he's just had, and invites him to sit down and talk with him a little bit. He explains to him that what's going to happen next is they're going to go back through the barrier, back over into their own universe. And so Billy's looking up in the space, and he can see the big barrier up in front of him there. And Ptah remarks that they're going to go back through the barrier. When they get to the other end, that they're going to have some time. They have to wait when they get through the barrier on the other side, because they have to close the barrier. And when they close the barrier, he says it's automated. The ship is automatically programmed to do that, but it takes about 50 minutes for the actual closing of the barrier. Apparently this barrier, he also explained, was that there are only certain locations that it would be possible to build this barrier. And he didn't specify where those may be. Of course, we wouldn't have any idea what he was relating to anyway. But so they do get through the barrier and they stop. It takes a very short time to get through it. And they pull through. And Ptah mentions that they're going to be waiting out if Billy has any questions, that he could be a good time to ask. And Billy says, sure, I got lots of questions. And Semyasa remarks, when is there a time when he doesn't have questions? So one of the first things that Billy wanted to kind of talk about was, he says, repeatedly throughout the contacts and even through his other contacts with other races, there's always been the subject all the time of religions, and he understands to some degree why religions can be difficult for people when they become, cult followers, so forth, of certain belief things, and it forces them not to be taking responsibility for themselves. But he also realizes that religion is also like a learning step that people can go through. So he was interested in Ptah's comments about religion. One of the main things that he did comment on says, yes, religions are a learning step, and it is something that everybody has to go through. One of the things they were concerned about, though, is that on Earth, unlike on other planets that go through belief structures and so forth, it had gone so far where religions had become so powerful, they had not seen this happen anyplace else in the universe. The term religion, as they referred to it, is organized Christianity. They had never seen it done quite to that extent. And he remarked that nowhere else in the universe had they seen that happen. His biggest problem with it was, he says, that Christianity had distorted the truth so much that it was interfering really with people's ability to learn. That people were coming into society because of the environment or family they may be born into. They are exposed to Christianity. They are taught Christianity. They believe that what Christianity is telling them, and it becomes like it's a hampering force. It keeps the individual from actually ever getting a chance to understand the truth. That it's not really so difficult to understand the truth about life and so forth, that it exists in nature around us all the time, that the observant person can come to understand more about life if he was just left alone. But in most cases, especially in the Christian world, that's not possible. Okay, I see I'm getting to the end of the tape, so I'll see you on the next side.